welcome to the Friday edition of Reaper Pro Tips. Here with me, your host, Anne, and a hefty dose of Quindy, accompanied by tiny touches of perhaps a pinch of John and Justin. Good morning. Good morning. 12-month sub where? Where? I don't see it. Wait. Aha! Happy Subiversary! Happy Subiversary! Happy Subiversary! Happy Subiversary! Thank you, Turgeon, for your 1 year of subbing to this wonderful show. Thank you. Everybody's a dehydrated corpse this morning? What? Today's a good day. It's Friday. It's Overwatch League day for me. I worked my butt off all week so I could watch Overwatch League today. All right. So you're lost in time, Pendrake? Pendrake is lost in time, everybody. We have a Catfolk. All right, guys, choice. Do you want to do purple or do you want to do NMM? Purple or NMM? Purple or NMM? What do we want to do today? It is Friday the 13th, but it's still going to be a good day. I've decided this. Friday the 13th isn't my historical bad day anyway. Groundhog Day is. Quantum Leap Pendrake Edition. Purple. I've got to vote for purple. Purple or NMM. Purple or NMM. Dancy kitty. I am Happy Cat. And I dance, and I dance. We need a vote. Quindy, put it up. What shall we work on for Happy Cat today? NMM or purple? I am a Happy Cat. And I dance, and I dance. That's just too much fun. Oh, hey, thanks for continuing that gift sub, Beguiler. I just saw that. 1 second. Yes, that's very cool. Awesome. It's the Dancy Kitty. That's a good Dancy Kitty meme. A little Dancy Kitty emote. Quindy's like, we don't need a vote. Everybody wants purple NMM. I came in equally psyched to work on purple or NMMs. Vote in the poll, everybody. I don't even know what I want to do today. Purple or NMMs. Purple or NMMs. Purple or NMMs. You know, like that. Vote in the poll, everybody. Meanwhile, so purple, we're going to do the cloth in purple. And we're going to do very pale, silvery NMM on the armor, I think. It's very, very good pally, I think. A good kitty. Purple M&Ms. There should be. Weren't there purple? Didn't they do that for a promo a while back? I could have sworn. NMMs. That's just how I like to say NMM sometimes. Wow, purple by a landslide winning so far. So if those of you want to see NMMs on Friday, then you better get on it. Otherwise we're going to grab some interesting colors here. Like maybe some Imperial Purple with some Icy Violet. Oh, that's right. The purple NMMs for Halloween. Kitty! Yeah, you spelled it right, Quindy. All right. I'm going to queue up my purple unless something huge changes. Oh no, did I put a yellow in the wrong place? While I wait for that poll to run out, I should go and, yeah, because that's not going to work. Not going to work. I need, well, maybe oxide yellow will work. I'll try it. Nobody wants NMM. It's Friday and everybody wants purple. Everybody wants purple. Friday equals purple to all of our wonderful fans here today, apparently. I'll get my black indigo out just in case I don't like the color I make when I try this. And I think I'm going to go up with Icy Violet. We can go two different ways, really. We could go up with Amethyst. It's a little bit warmer. I just don't like it quite as much on this. But I know what I want to do with the M&Ms. As I go back and forth. Yep. Looks like the purple, wow, outvoted by a major landslide. Thank you, everyone. Purple indeed wins. It's a Purple Friday. All right, so we're gonna play around with it today. Let me see. So I've got some options here. We got some options. I haven't decided whether I want to go with traditional amethyst or the icy violet for the imperial purple. You can use either for a highlight. It really should depend. If you make this decision, it should really depend on other colors on the model, whether you want to go more toward a reddish purple or more toward a bluish purple, because imperial can go either way. Imperial can slide either way. So when I originally made the Triad, obviously I chose to go up with amethyst because I want, one, warmer purples tend to be more popular, and two, I wanted a lavender in the line. Oh, really? Your city's having a Friday the 13th party? That's pretty cool. That's right. Just dare the holiday to do something, or dare the unlucky day to do something bad, right? All right. I also want to try something, because I'm always talking about how you can create a muted shadow by adding the complementary color. But in the case of purple, that seems counterintuitive because purple is so dark. But I'm going to try adding some oxide yellow to it. If I had my lantern yellow close to hand, I would use that. But my lantern yellow seems to have scarpered off to the other room, and I just don't feel like getting up. So yes. Obviously, lantern yellow is used enough that I'm like, I should go get it. But so that's that kind of Friday. But yeah, so I could use black indigo, and if I don't like the color that I get with this, I will use black indigo, but I want to try it. Because I was just thinking about it the other day. I'm doing my handout for my color class for Kubla Khan, which I may actually turn into a Patreon handout, actually, for the following month, just because why put all this work into a great color handout and not. The Jay is back, Anne says, totally getting derailed. Hey guys, remember that scrub jay, that beautiful blue bird? Yeah, beautiful blue bird is back, staring at me from the fence. Gorgeous color. I just get totally distracted. Yeah. But yeah, totally. So, sorry, distracted bird. Like, I can ignore most of the critters that, like, sit here and dance along the fence while I do my stream for you guys, but when gorgeous blue bird, like, comes up, I'm like, squirrel! Except not a squirrel, because if it was a squirrel, I would ignore it. Yeah, like that. It's that kind of Friday. This is how it was at Reaper 2. Friday, everybody went, attention span. I remember those. It was sometimes I would walk in, and within 2 hours, I just knew that it was that kind of Friday. So, yeah. So let's try this. Let's try to get some purple and some yellow together and see what happens. You can, if you're doing the opposite, it definitely works. Like mixing a reddish purple, especially with yellow, will give you an orangey or brownish shadow for your yellow, which is perfect. This is a more blue purple, so I'm interested to see how it does. I'm going to put it in an expendable well, i.e. not a well that is directly in line with everything. I'm going to always start with a lot of purple, and then I'm going to pop a note of yellow in this case, oxide yellow. Use as pure of a yellow as you can. When you're mixing colors into each other, like complementaries into each other to create shadows, then use as pure of a pigment as you can. That's why lantern yellow is very, like, it's an orange yellow, mostly orange yellow pigment. It's pretty pure, and oxide yellow is, of course, all yellow oxide, so it is a very pure color. So I'm going to drop a drop of that into there, except it needed more shaking. So now I'm going to have to, like, shake it up better. Stopping for the bird. Yeah. Hold on. I'm going to take some of that yellow out of there. Yep. I got a little bit too much binder fluid in there. When I do that, when I see it come out, if I can't stop the drop, I'll actually take in a Kleenex and just kind of pick up a little bit of it. So a little bit more, and I'm just going to do like half a drop this time. A little bit on the side of the palette. And I'm going to go from that. So let's see how that goes. Part of me has the urge to buy art supplies this weekend. Have you ever had that happen? Where you just like suddenly have the urge to buy art supplies? I'm like totally there this weekend. So it did mute it down, but it did not darken it. So we would have to bring something else in to make it a darker purple, I think. Because yellows are just naturally lighter pigments, it's going to be... Now, one thing, though. Here's something we could do. If we want to do this. Oh, hi, there's the J again. See, like, totally distract-a-bird. You are distract-a-bird. Ooh, he found something tasty to eat in my plants. He must have found a bug or a worm or something. Pretty Bird is just gonna totally distract me all day if Pretty Bird hangs around. I just want to get on Dick Blick and shop. Like, I'm looking forward. I'm going to limber out the oil paints. We have paint club this week. So I'm going to get the oil paints figured out. You call buying miniatures art supplies. But I've got this Dick Blick gift card, like, burning a hole in my pocket. And I'm just like, I could get online and buy brushes and stuff for oil paints. So, okay, so here's what we can do when we want to use yellow to mute purple and to make a shade for our purple. But we find that we started with a really dark purple and our yellow is not actually darker than our starting color, is we can modify our starting color by adding a tiny bit of white. So I'm gonna go 4-to-1 and see what I get. I could always add in a little bit more. Technically, if I wanted really just a little bit of white, I would have just used a tiny bit. But I'm curious to see how much. Okay, so that's gonna pop that up to more of a middle color, violet. That's what that makes. So 4-to-1 Imperial Purple with pure white gives you a beautiful violet color. Now, this definitely would work. I do want to darken it just a little. So 2 more drops of the purple to get a richer purple. There we go. That's more like it. So adding that 1 drop of white is going to give us better coverage out the gate. It also does allow us to shade with our yellow and purple mixture. So essentially, this is what you can do. Because yellow is lighter than purple, but you can make a really pretty, because it's kind of a bruisey shadow. I kind of like it. So you can do this, but because yellow will tend to lighten your purple, you may need to take your base color and just knock a little bit of white into it to make a slightly lighter version of the original shade. So as you can see, Imperial Purple is a really beautiful purple. Just dropping a little bit of white into it gives it better coverage and also makes it so that you can use this for a shadow. So this is all very interesting. This is we're playing with color today. We're experimenting. You can also do this when you're using blue and orange. So, although I do find that when orange gets mixed into blue, it does naturally tend to shift a bit darker, but orange, again, can be a lighter color, and so when you mix it with your blue, you may find that your blue actually doesn't go darker, which you need it to. So same thing with blues, and most of the time with blue, you want to start with kind of a mid-range color anyway, because if you start with a really deep dark blue, chances are it has no white in it, and when you try to build up highlights with white, your brush strokes are just going to sit there and stare at you and stick their tongues out and go, ha ha, you cannot get rid of us. So you really want to start your blue with a medium base coat, like somewhere in the range, something like Dragon Blue or a little bit darker. Don't go as dark as like Brilliant Blue without adding a little bit of white to it. If you add just a little bit of white, then you can layer up your highlights a lot easier. Oh yeah, well, buying art supplies in any form, miniatures or otherwise, is absolutely therapy. Hello. Now I've got it. See, but now I have to look at these and I have to really ask myself which of these I get to use for my highlight, because, okay, what I've done here, guys, by adding in yellow to my purple, I have actually pushed that purple warmer. And so I do not like the look of the Icy Violet anymore as a highlight. I really feel like I have to go up more with the Amethyst in order to make this work. So So that's something that I would do. And when I do the reverse, like if you do the reverse where you've got a cold shadow and a warm highlight, that's natural. Like that's kind of what we all expect to see. When you invert it, if I were to use like the icy violet, it would look a little bit weird. It would essentially send the message that I have a very cold light source, like that I've got a blue light on the model, except that I don't, because my orange isn't saying that. And so because they're not, I don't want to go there because I don't want to have everything start to clash. So that's what will happen, is that it'll look wrong because your highlight is cold, so your light source, says it should be cold, but the light on the orange is obviously warm. So we're not going to cross the streams there. We're going to go with the warmer purple then. I have a gift card, and that's better than extra money. Extra money I could put into something useful, but art supply gift card can only be used for art supplies. This is why I buy my mom art supply gift cards for Christmas. It's not like she couldn't go out and spend the money on her own, but she would feel bad about it. And so if I buy her a art supply gift card, she feels okay about going out into the world and spending money on art supplies. So we're gonna do this, and we're gonna take. Yeah, I have an old Dick Blick gift card I've been kind of holding in reserve for when I seriously got into a new medium. And I think I still got like $100 left on it. So I was debating, because I'm sitting here playing with oil paint recently, I was debating what I wanted to do. Yeah, it depends, right? I feel like the Amazon gift card is just generally useful, and I buy a lot of useful things off of Amazon, so, I feel like Amazon sometimes can be a little bit impersonal, unless you're getting it for a kid. Because kids want everything. And so I feel like Amazon essentially is giving the kid cash but not in cash form. They're giving the kid cash in a way they can turn around immediately usefully on Amazon. So but otherwise I try to personalize gift cards as far as if I know what stores my relatives like. Because we don't have the chance to all get together for Christmas anymore, so unwrapping gifts is just not the way it used to be. So yeah. Alrighty, let's see. My brother believes that gift cards are too impersonal. He doesn't like them, but he is very much of the school of thought that a gift should mean something. Which, I tend to agree with, but I also am really short on time. So part of me is like, argh. So I got him a gift card for Christmas last year, and he turned around and had a really nice photo of me and him turned into, framed and stuff, and gave that to me. So he's essentially trying to pressure me into adopting his mindset with gifts to him. Which is fine, Pete, but damn it, I'm really busy. Really, really busy. So I have to be original. I have to put creative thought into what I'm going to get for my brother this Christmas. Yeah, the problem comes in, I think, Shadow Raven, is that my brother is an architect and he works in North Chicago, and he pretty much has the money to buy himself anything he wants. And so he prefers, if you're going to give him a gift, that you put some thought into it, I guess, is just the thing, because it's like he doesn't really need anything run of the mill. So he'd rather have it be a personalized expression. And I get it. It just makes it harder. It means I have to plan. And think. And of course, that is the ideal gift anyway, has thought and intention put into it. It just takes longer to produce. So, all right. He might just get painted miniatures every year. He might just have to freaking deal with it. All right. So we've got our kitty and we've got our purple. And why did I decide to go purple with the kitty? Because we are doing, we've got orange. We've got orange in the equation. So we have chosen a color that allows us to use a secondary color triad. And we haven't done a lot of green, orange, purple. Lately, we've been doing a lot of red, yellow, blue. So when I went with green eyes for the kitty, then I was pretty sure I was going to go purple with the cloth, because I knew that I was headed for this triad. And so kitty was going to look really good with purple. Now, if you want to, Something that David does a lot. Let's talk a little bit about our color wheel here. Color wheel, color wheel. So the secondary triads are essentially, if you follow the big triangle, not the skinny one, but the wide triangle. You can see that right now I've got it lined up with blue, and the other points go to red and yellow. You can also switch it over to, you know, our green, orange, purple. And then the cool thing is that you can, and violet in this is purple, but this is definitely the color that Imperial Purple is. Now, the cool thing about the color wheel is it has those half steps. So you could actually create a triad halfway between the secondary and primaries. And that would be teal, red, violet, and orange, yellow. And that's a really cool triad to play with, actually. So you might try that one at some time. But right now, we're working with the green, orange, purple, or the orange, green, purple. Let's put our primary color so far at the top here. Now, what you can do, if you've got two colors that are part of the secondary triad, instead of going with violet, you could actually go one step to either side. So you could go to red, violet, or you could go to like blue, violet. And David does this a lot because he will line up a red, yellow, blue. So he'll line up a red, yellow, blue, except he won't go blue, he'll go teal. So he'll go red and teal with gold a lot. So you can do that at any point. Like you could go red and blue with yellow, orange, you know, or you could go yellow and blue with a red, orange, or a red, violet. So you don't have to go straight for the triad. You can actually change it up a bit. David doing the red and teal with the yellow actually gives it an entirely different feel than going red, yellow, and blue. But all those colors still will work together as long as you just shift half a step to either side. Can you see that? Does that make sense to you? Because you're still far enough apart from your other colors, and you're close enough to the triads. So that is something we could consider. I could go very blue with this purple, or because I did the warm, I'm going warmer. But I can keep this in mind when I'm putting together colors is the point. I'm going to use my Reaper Kalinsky today. Because why not? So I want all this cape to be purple. Now, one thing I'm not doing a lot of yet as I look at this is I'm not doing a lot of light and dark contrast, right? So as I progress with this purple, I may want to punch it significantly darker. Oh, I just noticed a mold line I forgot. Let me catch that. Oh, seriously, do I not have my knife or my files? No, I do have files. This is the problem. I need like 2 sets of gear. Let me grab my little round file, diamond file. There we go. We're getting there. Just notice it. And this is okay. This is a fine surface because even though it's concave, which can be a problem, it's really just right on the angle here of the shoulder. So it's actually pretty easy to get a file in here. These sort of surfaces that are recessed can be a big problem if there's not a way to get in there easily. So just going to get in there with that mold line. Get purple all over my finger, but that's okay. Also, since this is a recessed area, I don't really need to reprime it. I can just paint over it. My hand is never going to impact there, so chances are the paint's going to be fine. I know it's kind of a, bad habit, but... Or you could just take your brush on sealer. If I could find my brush on primer. I'll get a tiny bit of brush on primer in there. And if I just need a little bit of primer, you can see that I've done this in the past, but I tend to just put my primer just on top of the bottle. Come on, primer. Come on out. There. Just a blob of it. And in this kind of case, I seldom thin it. If I'm just touching up, I'm just going to grab it and put it over the area that I cleaned off. News, you can even wet blend primer and paint. There. All right, we'll let that set for a sec. But yeah, I regularly just use a little bit of primer on top of the bottle if I don't need a lot. All the cloth, Agent Marvel. So we'll work on the loincloth while we allow that little primed spot to dry. There's also a fair bit of color theory at the beginning of this, if you missed it. Well, other than Anne going squirrel, but when we talked about our purple and mixed our shadow. So if you missed that, you can go back and watch it later. But essentially we created our shadow by mixing yellow into our purple. And we had to alter our purple a little bit to have that work a little better. Now, if I want some contrast here, I will likely need to darken down this purple a lot. In the shadows, at least. So I may actually come in with my my shadow color and actually go over the top of this and then bring up some color. I don't know, I'm tossing it around in my head. Because I've got no big dark areas on this figure yet, other than the shadows. I've got no darks. And usually, as I harangue you all, I like to have a mixture of light and dark colors on the model because it helps to enhance contrast. So we will have to see how it works and make our judgment call. All right, that's dry. Excellent. Because right now, the purple and the orange are close to the same value, and I feel like I want there to be more dark for these to look good together. So you can either shift to a darker purple, or you can simply play up your shadows, which is to say go heavier on your shadows. And maybe sneak them up to be a little bit larger than you originally planned. Darken the purple that way. Especially certainly in these areas like under the arms, I'm definitely going to darken the purple way down. I may actually mix some walnut into the shadow color I've got mixed. And create an even darker shadow. Because I know the armor is going quite light, although it will have some dark spaces because NMM. But yeah, the beak looked very corvidy. Very pretty bird, that's all I can say. And he or she found a tasty morsel in our backyard, so hopefully he or she will continue to hang out. Technically, I think that I might have missed some fur back here. I think I went back and forth over whether that was fur or not. Oh, no, it's scales. There's the scales. Okay, yeah, because there's some... Here, I'm actually a little bit too far there. This will be better. So there's some scales that are hanging down there, the triangles. So I accidentally painted them purple. That's okay. No, it's an off black for sure, Raven Day. It is much darker than black and brown. Black and brown is more of a dark chocolate color, and walnut brown is a brown black. It is a warm black. And you can use it like black, except it makes a better mixer as far as like mixing shadows. It will create a very natural shadow color when you mix it with most things. So I sucked some of the purple off of those scales so that I would remember that I needed them to actually be armor and not cloth. Otherwise, it's easy to get on autopilot. You can do it. You just need to mix it. I mean, you gotta be ready for the fact that it's going to go greenish. Like, I would use it more for bronze than I would use it for gold, because walnut has a very large portion of black in it. It is a huge amount of black pigment. And because of that, and because the fact that NMM gold is based off of paints that are strongly yellow, it will create green when you mix them. A lot of people do not want green in their gold, but it does work for bronze and sometimes for brass, depending on how cold you're taking it. Learn about pigment interactions, because that's the main one that you need to worry about, is the knowledge that when you are mixing colors that have black and yellow in them, and that color is a very strong profile, you are going to see things go greenish. Usually it's unintentional, usually it's not desired, and so keep that in mind. I didn't even have to try that to tell you what would happen, because you just need to keep those pigment interactions in mind. That's the biggest one. Gonna just get a nice solid coat on here. Bring color down to where I know it should be. That's why putting a black wash over something painted yellow is never advisable. A lot of beginning painters do that, and then they're like, why did it turn green? And it's the way those two colors interact visually and pigmentally. And since we talked about that, if you do that and you create a greenish color that you are horrified at, how do you fix it? Anybody? There's an easy fix for it. What do you add to the greenish color to make it not green? This is an easy question. Nobody? I was sure somebody would jump on that. Yes, Pendrake. Pendrake, ding, 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 ding. When you want to neutralize an undesirable color shift, always add the complement. The complement to green is red. Even though you made that green by not using green pigment, doesn't matter. Add a little bit of red and you will neutralize the green tone. And it doesn't have to be clear red. It can be red oxide. It can be an orangey red. It can be a brownish red like ruddy leather. It could even be oxide brown because that's a very reddish brown. Getting a nice purpley color on here. I may end up glazing this to make it brighter because my his fur is so bright. Such a bright orange. And I love the fur. So I'm not going to change the fur. So that means that after all this, I may actually brighten up the purple. But we'll wait till the end and then we'll choose which color to brighten the purple with. Because we have a lot of different choices. All right. We're getting pretty okay here. I need to double up on this one. All righty. Get that front loin cloth again, and then we'll start shading. Inside of shield, I usually do them wood. So I usually start with a walnut or russet and do a background of wood. I usually assume that shields are wooden with either hammered metal or leather that has been put over the top and then either embossed or painted. That is my usual assumption with shields. Crap, I have another mold line and I need to go get the knife. 1 second. 1 second, Kitty needs to go under the knife. But yeah, Pendrake, I mean, I think historically most shields would have had a backing of wood just because it was lighter than metal. And you got to carry that thing all day. So for me, that's what I like to do. Also allows me to put an earth tone in with the wood, and it's a neutral. I tend to think that color schemes like models harmonize better. Scrape off this horrible mold line. There we are. And my primer is still a little wet, so I can grab a little bit of that. Yeah, I mean, it's fantasy. You can do whatever you want, really, Shadow Raven, but that's what I, tend to go for. I tend to enjoy painting it. I also believe that having an earth color on the model somewhere helps to ground the model, weirdly. So, like, he's on flagstones. He's definitely on some carved flagstones on the ground here. And that means probably grays. So he's going to be lacking in like an earth tone unless I add one. And I just find used to call these browns like, but neutral dark browns tend to be what I call helper colors. They're not a bright hue, and they're not like a true like black and white. And I find that they just make a model look better when you add them. It's a color that doesn't clash with anything, and it gives you a bit of natural color. I really like the inclusion of warm browns on figures. I think that in general, they're almost always a good choice. Oh, a new hobby knife. I've actually got an extra. I mean, I have one that I keep in my other transport for going to conventions. Because I don't want to lose this one because I really like the metal handle. All right, there we go. We're better. Alrighty, one last touch up down here and we'll start putting in shadows. Now, I really want some oil painting stuff from Dick Blick. I'm just trying to figure out, I was messing around a bit with my Winsor & Newton water-soluble oils over the weekend. I think the biggest problem with using them on miniatures would be just the thinning of them. The new scale color oils are much more fluid and smooth out of the tube. But they're not water soluble, so it's like I keep going back and forth. There we go. All right, blocked everything in. Now we got a nice solid coat of color. Now we can start. Plus, if I was ordering knives, I probably would order from Micromark or something rather than Dick Blick. It's too expensive on Dick Blick to go just for standard stuff you can find at a hardware store. Or let's see here. So now we go to our bruisey purple that we mixed up. I'm going to start putting that in. It's going to change the color of this purple a lot. And I'm not sure how I'm going to feel about it. So I'm going to start blocking it in the deep shadows. I grab a smaller brush to do these folds. I did thin down this purple a fair bit, this shadow color. So it's not going to be super intrusive off the bat. I'm feeling like maybe I should thicken it up a little bit. We'll see though. The other thing is I'm worrying about like how this is going to mute the surface color, if it's going to mute it too much. But we'll just lay it down as our first shadow. And as I mentioned, I can get some walnut and mix it in for an even darker shadow. So I can see those shadows starting to come in. I actually started from fur because, I mean, if you look at it, Strider, and there's two different schools of thought on this, and none of them are absolute. You can do whatever you want. There is no logic, really, behind any of these. Okay, there's small amounts of logic behind how you start a figure. This is actually inside out painting because I started with the skin tone, i.e. the fur tone. That was the first thing I painted. The logic behind that, such as it is that because it's the innermost part, if you get that over with, then you're just kind of working outwards, so you don't ever have to worry about trying to jam colors on things that are inside, which can be harder to paint without getting stuff on the stuff outside of them. So inside out painting starts with the skin or whatever the lowest level is, and it works out. That's what we did here with Kitty Cat. And then from there, I could have worked out on either the armor or the cloth, but I actually had the chat vote on it, so because it doesn't matter. The other school of thought is to, as you imply in your comment, is to take the largest area and work on it. So actually, even the purple wouldn't have been the choice then. The armor probably should have been the choice because it's taking up more of the model than anything else. So those are the two choices, and I was kind of veering toward armor, but I wasn't like in a big mood for NMM today, and that's why I had chat vote. So we went with the purple instead, and it's really not going to matter. But technically, since the purple cloth is over the armor, if I was doing inside out painting, the armor should have been my next choice. Hey, I am all about the detailed answers. And I know all the arguments, and I know all the reasons, because people have explainified it to me over the years. So I'm going to mix a darker shadow. I'm going to go walnut. I'm going to grab my walnut. Although actually brown liner might be, or rogue shadow might be a better choice. So rogue shadow is more red. You can't see it like great on here. Let me see it if we take this out. Yeah, you can kind of see it there. See how brown liner is a little more yellow and rogue shadow is a little more red? So if I'm seeking to do a purple shadow, if I want to go more in line with the color, I would go rogue shadow. But we did shade with yellow on the original shadow here, so I think I'm going to go brown liner instead. Walnut would just throw a lot of black at it. Yes, some people base coat everything and then go back and do highlights and shadows. I paint in sections because I enjoy it and because it allows me to get little wins, essentially. It allows me to finish part of the model, feel good about the fact that I finished part of the model, and then I can keep going. I used to paint where I base coated everything and then had to work on everything, from there, and I ran out of oomph. Like, I got really, lost my motivation to paint a lot. And so I started doing this instead, where I was, there we go. So we've muted out even more. It's still a purple, but it's a really muted down purple now, really dark, and only a little bit purpley. See the color? See. So it is still purple. But yeah, I found that I always lost motivation when I was trying to base coat the entire model, because then all I could do was look at all the work that I had left to do, and I didn't have any wins to show for it. And so when I started doing this, when I started painting like this, where I finished a part of the model and then I moved on, then I found that I was a lot more motivated to finish projects because I was getting the win of finishing part of the model and really liking how that part looked. And then that motivated me to keep going. So I'm going to block in even darker shadows. Putting a real dark shadow underneath the armor here, since it overlaps. You're going to get a shadow there. But yeah, so I know I'm a weirdo, and I know a lot of people don't paint like this, but I really enjoy painting like this. It keeps me going. It keeps me excited. And that's important when it takes you a long time to paint. And for a long time, I've gotten a lot faster over the years, but for a long time, it did take me a long time to paint models. I was a very, very slow painter. And lately, I'm faster because I've put a lot more kind of spot wet blending in my technique. But when I was so slow, it just took me so long. And so then I found that I would run out of oomph on a project very, very quickly, unless I really adored the project, like really loved it. So darkening way down, you can see how much shadow I'm putting in here behind here, because there's just no light behind this leg. So I'm just leaving a little bit of purple there at the bottom. And same on the inside down here. Really, you can see how I've darkened down the interior there. It's still purple. It's just a very, very dark, bruisey purple. So that's looking pretty good there. That brought down that color. Really, I was less, I mean, normally I do reach for weird whenever I can. I mean, that's really my default mode. But in this case, I was less reaching for weird and more reaching for less frustration and more enjoying myself. And I just wanted to finish things. Like, I was sick of having a huge shelf of shame. So I started, because I am kind of like an analysis kind of person. I definitely self-analyze. And so I kind of put my brain to figuring out, why do I stop painting? Why do I stop painting a mini? What makes me hit that point? And I found that I just felt like I wasn't making enough progress. And that was when I switched my painting technique. So it's going to be different for everybody, what makes you stop painting. But it's a very, very worthwhile question to ask yourself. Because, this is a hobby that, we do it because we love it. We do it because, it's a great de-stressor. But a lot of us will run into that barricade where we just like hit a wall and we're like, oh, well, it's good enough. And we move on, even if it's not done. Or we just get sick of it and then we have a huge shelf of lost love where we've lost love on all these minis. And some people do that and they just really don't care. They can deal with having a shelf of lost love. But for me, it actually saps my energy to look at that sort of thing. So I really had to find a solution. And even now I find that I can't have too many works in progress, like in front of me. Like if I'm going to stop for a while on a model, which is still valid, and sometimes I will hit that point just because I'm not sure where I want it to go, or I'm not too happy with where it is, but I'm not sure how I want to fix it. I'll have to take that model and put it away in a box in the closet rather than leaving out where it can stare at me, because I'll start really getting kind of disheartened and losing oomph if I keep those things around. All right, so we're bringing that really dark shadow in. You see the dramatic shadows that is bringing in, and I'm using my bruisey purple, my original shadow as well, to kind of do a transition between the violet and that color. Yeah, Quantum. Yep. Yeah, the Reaper Challenge League is nice because that's for especially when you thrive on like getting something done so you can show it to people like Kodiak. That's totally, like, I can see how the Reaper Challenge League would be great for you. Like, so for people like Kodiak who really love to do painting because you love to share your work, Reaper Challenge League is wonderful for that. So is getting on a nice involved Discord where you can just show your stuff as you finish it. That's what kept me going when I was painting my Soldier 76, which was like 100, 140, 160 hours, some obnoxious amount of time to finish that model because it was a 12-inch tall statue. But I was on a Discord because it was Overwatch time. It was Overwatch League, and I was on a Discord with a bunch of people who follow a streamer I really liked, and they were all like big Overwatch fans, and so like I would put up pictures after my evenings painting, and that kept me motivated. Like that was when I was really burned out and I was trying to get my groove back, and so it was important to me. Like sharing it helped me get through it because that was such a big model that really it was incremental progress day to day. But sometimes I realized during that time that I need to just redefine progress in my head. Like, spending an evening painting and relaxing can also be progress. So that's when I started kind of jinking around with my mindset around the hobby too. Because the problem is when you're like me and you do this for a living, like, it has been your job, and as now in my case my job again, it gets pretty loaded for you, right? And so the notion of progress is also tied up with the notion of deadlines, or the notion of expectations, or the notion of things you have to do because it's your job. And that can be poisonous when you're trying to keep this as a hobby that you love. And this is true whether you are an artist or a podcaster or a whatever. And when you start like making your job, when you start trying to keep your hobby even though you've made it your job, like it can be a thing. So figuring out like how your brain is working and redefining like what success or what progress is very important, I think. For me now, Like I've been working on that. I showed you guys that turtle yesterday from Bardsong. I'm working on the turtle druid. And for me, like progress on that model is just having an enjoyable evening painting it and enjoying it painting, like enjoying the painting. As long as I've enjoyed the evening, it's progress and I don't care otherwise. So, yes, there's all my stuff. Thank you, Quindy, for the links to all the things. So, since Quindy nicely linked to all the things, let's talk about all the things. I just shot a video for the YouTube yesterday, and I'm hopefully editing it today and getting that up. My patrons get all my YouTube stuff early. And so that's actually, it's my bio, since you guys asked for it. I did a bio. It's about a little bit more than 20 minutes long. It's pretty much how I got started in mini painting, like the arc of my career and how I ended up where I did, up to the current day. So, and actually I worked on, since I didn't want to just talk to the camera, I actually worked on my turtle. So if you want to see how I painted the first part of that Bardsong turtle, it's actually on stream on that video, because I wanted to be doing something with my hands while I was talking about my career. So yeah, that's a new one. And then I'll be putting together, I'm still deciding what my next topic needs to be for the fundamentals of mini painting. I'm kind of going toward like layering or blocking and highlights. I might talk about primers though, because that's important. Yeah, I might talk about primers, all the color primers, but yeah. So, because I'm trying to give new people a good grounding in mini painting with those videos. So I need to talk about lighting at some point too. But I think maybe primer color is a good thing to tackle at this point. And different the way you prep different materials. That's probably a really good one. Haven't talked about prep really yet. I've just been talking about techniques. But I think I should get in some more basic stuff before I go to layering. So I'm putting in the bruisey shadows I'm getting. You can see how much dark I'm putting in here. And this comes from what I said earlier about I want to have some dark color on this model. Otherwise, the purple at its mid value is the same value as like the darker orange. Like I know I'm going to have light tones on this model because I want to make the armor pretty bright silver steel. But that means I'm lacking a dark. And so I decided that one way to deal with that would be to get this purple, like put some serious shadows on this purple. And if I want to, I can back off of that by coming back with my midtone and bringing it more in. But because I'm putting that midtone over the dark side, you see how I wiped out that shadow, but I still kept a bit of it. So I'm going to go back and forth a bit as I progress here, as I assess what color I want this purple to be in the end, right? Because the more dark I put in, the darker the purple's going to look, and the more midtone I leave, the more that middle color is going to be the color that it looks, and the more highlight I put in, that's going to change everything again. So, as always, the colors that, not just the colors you put down next to each other influence how they look, but the color, how much shadow and how much highlight you have, and the colors of those shadows and highlights, that influences everything as well. So it's a balancing act, and it's like a progress thing, and you just kind of have to keep an eye on it as you go. Like after you've done a bit of shadow, stop, back out, look at it, assess it. I was getting very dark with my shadows, so I backed out a little bit and brought in a little bit more of my midtone here. And that not only helped with the blending, but it also has, given me more purple, less dark. But I mean, you can see the difference between just looking at the hood up here with nothing on it, and then looking at that cape and how much more dynamic it is, and it's cool. So yeah, YouTube. And also I have, as obviously I mentioned, I have a Patreon. My Patreon is my great love, and it is also the thing that allows me to do all the things. It's my main income, so it lets me do these great streams for Reaper and essentially not go back to corporate America. Woohoo! So thank you, everybody, for your support, because otherwise I would have to go get a corporate job, and I would be sad. And also I wouldn't be able to stream anymore. So also would make me sad, because I really love streaming. So yes, thank you, everybody, for your support. it's funny because some of you know I've been working on a book, and I'm gonna publish it probably independently next year. But looking at all the social media options for that, and I'm like, if I was just starting out considering becoming a freelance novelist, like I would be like so lost. But because I've already done all this stuff for my painting, I know exactly what I most enjoy doing. So it's like I don't have to like, reverse engineer anything. I'm like, nope, I don't like Twitter. Nope, I don't like I can essentially say all the things I do like doing as far as social media promotion, and all the things I don't. I already know it because I've already done it as an artist. So I know I really am enjoying the YouTube, like super, super much so, actually. At first I didn't know what to do with it, but then after I got enough video experience with the Patreon, I'm really enjoying it now. There we go. We got nice. I need to add that shadow in there. But yeah, I do all the things. Anyways, yesterday I looked at David and I'm like, David, sometimes I think I do too much. Or I try to do too much. And he's like, sometimes I think that too. Not about himself, but about me. There's that J again. Okay, bird. What are you trying to do here? Like, seriously. I know there are lots of fat bugs in my yard. He is really, really all over the place, like going... Like, must be looking for bugs. That bird is like, I'm going to distract you. Shiny. Shiny bird. Bluest bird in existence. All right, so I'm bringing in some really dark shadows now up here to make it match the contrast I've got down there. A lot of this is kind of facing up, so I won't make them quite as much, or if I do, I'll pull them back. And that's the thing, is you can always go a little heavy-handed. Like if you find that you're scared of shadows, like that you're not sure how to do them, and so you're just like, I don't know how much to do, and you tend to go underwhelmingly on the shadows, just make yourself block them in. Just put them in with a heavy hand, and then you can always go back and bring them back out. It's acrylics. It's so easy to paint over everything. Nothing is irrevocable. I don't know, whatever. Irrevocable in acrylic painting. Because you can always paint over it. You're just fine. Especially when you're like doing like me, where this paint is so thin. You would have to put so many layers to lose detail. Like you could repaint this area 5 or 6 times before you even started losing any detail. So put a little shadow there at the back of the head where that little armor is coming down, so that'll make the armor show up a little better as we progress. So I want to remind y'all that not this Monday, but the following Monday, the 23rd, is our 500th episode. 500 episodes of Anne talking at you guys about color theory and all the rest of this stuff. 500. I cannot believe that. That's just insane to me. So we're going to have a special day. We're going to have to give away, speaking of gift cards, speaking of coupons for product, we're giving away Reaper gift codes. So make sure you come. 500. Yeah, and all I have done is like base coat and shadow. I haven't even done any highlights yet. Kodiak. Now this is the kind of cape that I would not do freehand on. And the reason is that it's got so many folds and it's shifting, it's narrow, it doesn't have a lot of open area. It's also like kind of cut up to allow his tail, right, to come through it easily so that he can lash his tail around, being, an angry paladin and trying to fight evil and all that. If you can't lash your tail, it's not effective. So anyway, there isn't a lot of open space here, and his hood comes down over a lot of it too. So that is why I would not do freehand on this cape. When you've got a lot of really cool movement features like this, you don't really need freehand. Like the lights and the darks on the cape by itself are enough. Yes, Monday the 23rd. 10 days. 10 days from now. We're going to start talking about it. Lots. I want record numbers. Tell your friends. Get free stuff. Watch and paint. We're going to be working on the dragon again. I'll probably work on the wing. We can do more iridescent, non-iridescent, iridescent. So I've got a lot of dark shadows up top, and I don't really want a lot of dark shadows up here, so I'm going to bring my base coat back in. This is what I mean. Just make yourself go darker with the shadows. You can always knock it back. So I'm knocking that back a little bit. I didn't want that dark. I'm letting a little bit of it still show through. Painting in a little bit of that. Anything that's facing upward towards the light, I'm going to lighten up a little bit. And I'm going to leave the dark shadows where stuff starts overlapping. That looks good. But yes, tell your friends. We're going to do gift cards. Gift cards! We so seldom do free on this show because the knowledge is free. Free knowledge all the time. Free knowledge and sometimes puppy pictures. All right, I think we're good with the shadows there. We need to get shadows up here. But yes, Monday the 23rd. Come, hang out, win stuff. Celebrate 500 crazy 500 episodes. Just blows my mind. And the awesome thing about doing this is that we are still to this day like having new fans discover us, and having new people hang out with us, and a lot of you are still learning things even though you've watched me for a while, so that's cool. It's way awesome. There we go. So we got some folds in there on the front, some little bit of dramatic folding there. I'm going to actually shade down this part, because even though this part is kind of pointed upward right under the chin here, it's also overshadowed by that face, and so you would have some dark in here. You can kind of make a judgment call there as far as what you think would happen, as far as whether you want it to be light or dark. But I want some detail on those folds, so sometimes I'll paint in a shadow even if I shouldn't quite have that dark of a shadow, just because at 28mm you just need to overemphasize sometimes to make everything look right. So and then we're going to have a shadow right up against this shield as well, where the shield is going to block a little bit of light. We're going to have a little bit of shadow in here. I'm going to block it up onto that shield a little bit. I need to get under the arm there. I haven't done that part at all, but I want to line a little bit of shadow right up against the helmet here. There. That's a little better. And let's tackle that area. A lot of this is just going to be dark because right up against, way inside here, that's absolutely going to be dark. Nice dark shadow in there. Shadow under the arm as well for the same reason. Then we've got some folds that we need to attend to. I am going to shade right up against the body though, same reasons. And I'll thin my shadows down a little bit more as they come into there with that fold. And I'll bring it in a little bit harder down below. There we are. I think we're pretty good. A little bit extra dark here and there. And I think that that is coming around. Hello, meow meow. Yes, it's kitty cat day. How's it going, Tuner? It's Friday. I'm happy because it's Friday. Been busting my butt all week, and today is my easy day. I tried to get a lot done so that I could have an easy day today. Which is kind of the nice thing about being self-employed, is like, if I do bust my butt, I can do that. I can be like, I want Friday to be a very easy day, so I will do more on these other days. It's a little harder to do when you're not self-employed, because your boss can always spring something on you at the last minute. So, all right, we've got this set. So now we're going to have to figure out highlights. So I've got my amethyst here, which has a little bit of my imperial purple mix in it to darken it down just a little bit and make it go a little bit better. And I find that this works. These colors are in the same triad with each other, right? That is the mid-tone and this is the highlight. But you can see how different they are. When you've got this, like, it really is meant for you to mix these two and get an intermediary shade in between them. It absolutely is. When we started the line, we didn't have a lot of color slots. You know, I had 54 slots and I was like, well, I want to give you a wide range of colors, but I'm also doing triads. So when you see triads like this, where you've got a big differential, that's what you're meant to do. I'm trying to give you more options. And that may mean that you have to do a mid-tone in between these. You need to do a mixture of these two instead of going straight to amethyst from imperial. It is absolutely working as intended. So let's grab some of that highlight color and see what it looks like on the model. And then adjust it if necessary. I don't know how strong this is going to be. Fairly strong. When you, just like with blues, when you're working with purples, when you start adding in highlights, often those highlights will have a fair bit of white in them. And when they do, they can really pop really fast. Like, they can take over a lot of ground very quickly. So you have to kind of pick and choose like where you want that highlight to go and be pretty selective about it. So Chinner, we were just saying, since you just came in, my 500th episode is on Monday the 23rd. And we're going to be giving away gift codes. We're going to be giving away stuff. And we're going to be working on the dragon from the Kickstarter paint streams. So I just want to let you know. And you should spread the word. Because we so seldom give away. We so seldom do giveaways on this show. But 500 episodes is definitely where we want to be. So I'm keeping my highlights really small. I'm not using them everywhere. I'm just doing like a little bit down here, a little bit down there. Just getting the edge here. But yes, definitely come in and watch us on Monday if you can. Monday the 23rd, not this coming Monday. 10 days from today. 500 episodes. Insanely large number of things. If I had 500 videos on my YouTube, I would be pretty happy right now. So, having helped Reaper get like that many videos on YouTube, I know it can be done. All right, so I'm gonna line a little bit around the outside edge here. Just blocking in some shadow. I'll paint over it with our metal color, but just want to get that dark shadow in there. Yeah, I mean, you should watch Monday also, but But you should super watch on Monday the 23rd. Super duper watch. Is there anything else? Like, is there anything in particular you guys would like me to see me do for the 500th episode? Any particular technique or any particular like thing you want me to talk about, or anything you want me to show off on stream? Or oh, I totally forgot to shade this little area underneath the arm. I'm gonna get in there now with my shadow color. There's only gonna be a little bit of purple left showing. There. But I like all the techniques. Actually, whenever I talk color theory, that's pretty much like my favorite thing to do. Yeah, I don't really have a favorite technique these days. Every technique is like if I had to pick a favorite child, it's probably layering, like I'm doing right now, but I do that on every figure. So I've got that coming out there. And that looks good. So want to get just a little bit. Actually, I might need a little more shadow there. That arm is overhanging this a lot. That's a good question. When I am picking a new mini to paint, I make my minis fight for my love. So I get them out. I have them sorted into boxes, and one of them is the priority I love you box, and one of them is the not right now box, and then there's the heck no, not for a while box, maybe never box. But those I tend to give those away eventually, because if they stay on that list, then yeah. But I get out my minis, and then I get them out and I look at them. And I let them speak to me as to whether they need to be painted next. And they fight for my love. And whoever emerges as the mini I am most excited about in my gut at that time is the mini that gets to come out and sit on my desk in its box until I get around to it. Or the mini I get to start. The Dragon Daughter mini that I'm doing, my first mini with oils, actually was in the Not Right Now box for a very long time. And she graduated to desktop when I got my new oil paints. Now she's all prepped and primed, and she's ready to get oil paint on her on this Sunday. Yeah, Seattle is a bit of a stretch. Flights were pretty cheap, but now that every flight is getting expensive, it's not so cheap anymore. I feel like I got the last wave of cheap flights from Seattle when I went up to Canada. To and from. All right, let's see here. Let's put some highlights back here. Once again, we're using amethyst, but we have mixed a little bit of our Imperial Purple into the amethyst to make them go better. It's like when you make your dice fight for your love. When you roll them, and whoever rolls the most 20s, like, is the dice that gets to be picked for that evening's game, even though conversely it's laughing at you because it probably is like, haha, I've used up all my karma and I'm no longer the best dice to use, but you're going to use me anyway and you're going to critically fail all night, and then you're going to threaten me with the dice smasher upper. Alrighty, gonna go back and forth a bit with my midtone and highlight here to refine this area. But yeah, these days, the reason I do it that way is because, again, like, as we mentioned earlier, when you do this for a living, you have to really watch your oomph level. You have to really be conscious of your enthusiasm level when you're working on things for you. It can't ever become a chore. And so I'm very careful to choose a model that I'm honestly, one, that I can envision myself painting. Like if I can envision myself putting paint on it right now when I'm looking at it, then awesome. And also a model that I'm genuinely excited about when I imagine the different things I want to paint on it. If I feel that way, then I'm pretty good. I'm going back and forth between midtone, shadow, and highlight as I try to get this hood area. When you've got all these tight folds, it can be a little bit annoying to try to get everything to look good because you don't have much room to blend. Dice Goblin's okay. Yeah. I mean, I've got a lot of dice. I tend to have like 2 sets for a game. Like I'll have like 3 different D20s. Just because sometimes I'm not feeling the love for one of those D20s. But weirdly, when I game master, I only have one specific set of dice I use. I always use the same D20 and it still kills people. So win. It's the black dice of doom. They've gotten imbued with wicked GM energy over time. And now they're my most reliable dice. There. Bring up highlights on top of that shoulder. Leave some shadows down here. But yeah, so I'm very, very careful like about the models that I'm very careful about the models I buy now too. Like, because I've got so many beautiful models waiting in my priority box over there, waiting for me to finally have time for them or to make time for them. Although I did just finish a batch of commissions, which I'm super psyched about because now I can work on more of my stuff. Often my commissions tend to take over the hours where I would otherwise be working on stuff for me, just because there's not enough hours in the day. So having finished that batch of commissions, I am now free to futz around on my own models for a while, which is why I'm painting that turtle for Bard's Song. I need to clip this hair off. I've got a little flighty hair. See the little flighty hair coming off the side? Let us address this flighty hair. It's already standing out like it wants to be snipped off, so we're going to just do that. There we go, and now our brush is perfect again. Ta-da. That is how you do surgery. Do not pull out the hairs on your brush. You will wreck your brush. Yeah, I mean, maybe. Depends on how I feel, Pendrake. I was going to do wings because I thought people might like to see those iridescent wings finished. So I'm going to highlight where the tail comes out here because the tail's going to be pressing the fabric outward, and actually it is if you look at the angle here. So that means you want some light here. Plus, I find the other thing I want to mention about, like, as far as fast scales, slow scales, whatever, my fast scale technique is just the way I started. Like, if I'm gonna do the whole dragon fast, then I just don't go any farther than that. So it isn't necessarily that I have different end products for those things. Like, fast scales are my good scales. Like, it's all the same. Like, it's got the same start. The only difference between all the things you outline is how much time I spend on it. So you'll hear me, like you've heard me on various casts when I do things, say, and I could stop here, but I'm going to keep going, and then I take it up a level. And that's exactly how my fast painting differs from my good painting, is how much futzing. I always tell you guys this. The difference between a gaming level model and a competition level model is just, you start them the same. It's all the level of futzing. It's how much refinement you do. So it's really not, it really isn't 3 different styles of painting for me. It's how far I take it. I mean, I did those wings pretty fast. Like, I did dry brushing on those wings to set them up. But that's a perfectly valid technique for doing that. And the only difference then is, do I leave the dry brushing, you know, to be the majority of the highlight where you can still see it? Or do I put extra texture in like I did on the wings to disguise it? You know, do an extra wash, do an extra thing. There, now we're bringing up that little part because it comes up as well. We're not bringing it up quite as high as this part. Though I may go back on that. We'll see. These are very linear folds, and so for these type of folds, I will violate my usual rule, and I will use a linear highlight. If it's so narrow that you can't really go crosswise on it, just embrace it and do it. Just do the line highlight. Because then you got to blend everything else, but... But yeah, at this point, I'd say I use the same suite of techniques for a lot of different things. And the only difference then is how much extra time I spend tightening up things, adjusting things, putting more detail on things. That's the only difference. I disagree. If you already have the story, then it's not dictation. It's never dictation because the characters will always do something you don't expect. If you railroad them into that, then, well, you can still get some variance. There's always room in the details when you're constructing a story. Like, when I'm working on my novel, I can have the whole novel outlined. But stuff will happen in the chapters that surprises me still. So I don't think dictation's the right word on. At least not for me. It's not for me. I find there is plenty of room for freedom, even within a structure. But that, of course, does depend somewhat on your skill as a storyteller and how much you do have to railroad to keep the story on track. I mean, I know that there's a lot of disruptive players out there. And not disruptive in a good way. Like, sometimes when your players do something, you're like, oh, damn it. And then you're like, oh, that's kind of cool, actually, you know. And I like those moments. And you can still use your story, but it might just add a monkey wrench. Yeah, sure. It's just, yeah, I just, probably misunderstood what you were getting at with the dictation thing. In fiction writing, you may not know, or you may know, in fiction writing, there's this movement where people are like, an outline ruins a story. And, you know, it's a better story if you don't pre-plan everything. And I disagree with that because I've done both. So that's when he what I was maybe interpreting, and it was incorrect interpretation on my part. Well, hopefully part of the fun of GMing is like adjusting, right? Otherwise, I mean, if you didn't want other people in your story, you would just write a book. Right? I'm going to darken down the shadow right under this cape, right under the hood. I feel like I need just a little bit more shadow fall there. There we go. That's better. So see how adding that extra shadow gives the hood more weight? You really see that it's standing out from the surface more. Time check. Yes, thank you, Quindy. Yeah, Azed. That totally is. I just don't like it when people try to like impinge their version of reality on mine. I don't like it when, well, it's just like you're on the stream. I don't like it when somebody presents something as the only answer. There's always exceptions. You know, that's the only absolute, is that there is always an exception to every rule, and there is always like somebody who will do it very differently from you and still get a great response. So I think that's the end thing for me, right? And it's because writing is art, and it's from your gut, and it's from the core of who you are. It's always going to be a very individual thing. I absolutely agree. Alrighty, I think we've got a nice level of highlighting and shading on our little cape. I might do a little more. Oh yeah, it's cool. I try not to. The problem, Azed, is that I can be very opinionated. But I try so hard to always remind myself that somebody else's method is just as valid as my method. So, because I don't ever want people to like get into that mindset, because there's so much of that in the hobby. Like there is a lot of that in the mini painting hobby where people will present their way as like the best way. And I'm just, that never rings true for me. So always when you've got anything that somebody tells you or shows you, whether you're GMing or you are mini painting, always question whether it's true for you, and maybe mess around with other methods just so you get the experience. Alrighty. Yes, learning is good. Learning is half the battle. Knowing is half the battle. But anyway, learning is part of knowing. 3 p.m. for Reaperland. Oh, Reaper Errant is on tonight. Excellent. All right, y'all. Well, hey, Kitty Cat's here. I'm going to say one more thing about Kitty Cat, and that is that the reason that you would not go up more with highlights on Kitty Cat's cape at this point is that if you take the highlights up more, it's going to make the cloth look shinier. And so if you want more of a coarse cloth, or just like a kind of a standard like cloth, like a cotton or a linen maybe midweight, you don't want to go too high. The higher these highlights go, the shinier this cloth will be. If you want a satin cape, then you'd have to paint it a little different, but you would take the highlights up. So keep in mind that the highlight level on cloth is directly related to the shininess. It's true in every surface, but it's especially, I think, true on cloth. All right, everybody. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. I will be streaming tomorrow. On my stream at twitch.tv/paintingbig. Probably doing the last bits of conversion work on that giant Wolfen model I've been working on. So yeah, thanks for coming out, everybody. Remember, Monday the 23rd. It's the new Anne and Quindy holiday. All right, everybody. Have a great one. Have a fantastic weekend. And I hope to see some of you tomorrow hanging out with me on Twitch. Bye-bye.